Hey guys, I got something special for you today. I spoke with Jake Crain of Crain and Company at a peek inside SEC football, and I posted that video over there, but I want you guys to get his thoughts on UF and not miss it. So here is that quick conversation. All right, Jake, before we let you get out of here, I got to ask you one Gator question. I know you got a time crunch, but this season coming up, DJ Lagway is going to be the full-time starter. Florida's had some changes this offseason, coaching staff-wise, just lost Will Harris, some shuffling about happening. What do you expect from the Gators this upcoming season, and what do you think what's the floor and the ceiling of this team?
Well, and everybody's going to be talking about DJ Lagway, and they should. He's the quarterback. That's the way it works in this sport. But I'm more interested to see where Florida has improved around him, because this is not golf. This is not basketball. This is not baseball, where one individual can just go out there and do it by himself. When I look at this Florida team, I look at the line of scrimmage, and I tell you, I called them. I called you guys going 7-5 last year, and people looked at me like, I had an arm growing out of my head because everybody was ready to bury Billy. But I think you have some positive momentum. I think you have some stability going into this season. I think you have some confidence, and it's not all woe is me. I think they're going to be better around him, because it's amazing what a player of his caliber can do to the guys around him. I think Florida could improve off last year's record. I know the schedule is going to be tough, but at the end of the day, if you're Florida and you can find a way to go 9-3, or maybe even 8-4, if they decide to expand the playoff tomorrow, which they're not, it's going to keep showing improvement. So when I look at this Florida team, I'm confident in them for the first time in a while to be able to exceed expectations, but it's got to start early, right? Because if it falls off a cliff the first couple games, or you come out, you look like you did last year off the rip, all of a sudden that negative energy is going to come back in, and you're going to see it permeate through the fan base. So look, I'm buying Florida this year. I like their over-end wins. They just need to get off to a good start, obviously.
So with Florida specifically and Billy Napier, I think and Allie would agree with this, again, second time today maybe, and second time ever. His seat has cooled pretty considerably. However, I still think he needs to win, right? Like, they showed pretty good progress. Like, if they go 6-6, if there's any regression, and even like, it feels like to me as an outsider, 7-5, they'd probably just kick the can down the road and see what he does in year 3 with Lagway. But if they were to go 6-6, I feel like that heat ratchets way back up. And even 7-5, like how they look in that 7-5 would probably matter quite a bit. I think the schedule ticks a little bit easier because they lose a Power 5 game against UCF, and they play USF now, or Power 4, I guess at this point. They play USF. They get they get Texas at home this time. Georgia, we'll see how they play in, last year, a kind of down year where they still win the SEC. I think the schedule gets a little bit easier. However, with that, there needs to be an uptick. Like, to me, they really need to get to 8 regular season wins to really consider it progress. I don't think 7-5 would be progress again this year. And so I don't think they'd fire him at 7-5, but I do think it would turn 2026 into like, all right, you got to get to 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's where I think him and Hugh Freeze are in very similar positions. Like, if it falls off a cliff, they could possibly get fired. But if they don't improve on what happened last year, then the heat for the next year, it's going to be about as hot as it can get, and it's time to put up or shut up. But when I do look at Billy, and I look at this team, and I look at that schedule, again, it is tough. But you do have some superlatives that are kind of in your corner this year, the ones that you brought up. But I just wonder if 7-5 kicks the can down the road, does 8-4 get you an extension? That's the interesting part to me, is if you do show improvement and everybody's excited about, you just went 8-4 and maybe you beat Texas, or maybe you even found a way to beat Georgia and you got DJ for another year. Do you do what Wisconsin just did with Luke Fickell and say, look, we trust you, we're going all in on you again? Or do you have to see even more with the contract that he already has? I mean, it could go so many different ways right now. But it's a very intriguing situation. But I agree with you, TJ. I think, if it's the same as last year or you regress, the heat's really going to be turned up, especially with Lagway coming in for, really his third go around.
Yeah, I mean, I know TJ's rooting for the demise of Florida always, but you've got to think At 8-4, I think you're right that there's a great possibility they go ahead with an extension. I think the caveat to that is how you look in those 8-4. Did you
Yeah,
backdoor those wins or whatever? But because it's a boost to recruiting when you can pitch stability, right? So if
without a
you're
doubt.
8-4 and you don't resign, those coaches are still going to be out on the trail saying Florida's not sold on him. Did you notice they didn't extend him?
Mhm.
You may be committing to somebody who's not going to be there. You extend him, and I mean, obviously, you can get out of any contract you want to get out of at any point. So this is all kind of just for show, regardless. Obviously, you're paying to do it, but I think that helps you on your recruiting trail, and that's a piece of this puzzle, right?
Yeah. Well, especially in the world of college sports now where instability is the norm. I mean, it's
Mhm.
the fight for stability has never been harder, not only to bring in new players, but to keep your players. And that's the first thing that
Yeah.
coaches who have stability point to when they go in the living room. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to leave you at the altar, right? That they're not going to fire me tomorrow, or if one thing goes wrong, tell me to pack my bags. And that's a big arrow in the quiver, because as much as NIL matters and money talks, BS walks, we know that you're still walking in a living room and asking for someone's most prized possession in
Let's
their
move
child.
on.
Like, that's believe me, after a month, I get it now, 100%. Like, I need facts. I don't need feelings. I don't need predictions or whatever. I need facts and stability. It's worth its weight in gold right now.
All right, Jake, we appreciate you. Let everybody know where they can listen to you and where they can find you
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah, well, if you want to come scream at me, whether you agree with me or not, it's pretty easy. Just go to the Google machine. It's Crain and Company, Crain and Company. We're easy to find. Go each weekday. Have a lot of segments, talk about a lot of different things, and have live calls on Friday. So I appreciate you guys having me and agreeing. Wow, what an agreeable sit down this was between Florida State and Florida. I'm really glad to see this. This gives me hope for Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna have to do
it's
this again
it,
because
yeah,
that's a little too kumbaya for me.
it's February. Come back on Thanksgiving week
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
see
The
how
heat will
things
be
look.
turned up. The heat will be turned up. But no, I appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
But we
buddy.
appreciate you too. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this content, do me a quick favor and go subscribe to A Peek Inside SEC Football. You can see more of our conversation with Jake by clicking the video on the screen right now to check it out.